And welcome to another episode of PWT Talks NXT here on the PWTorch Daily Cast or here on YouTube if you're watching us live here on YouTube. I'm Nate Lindberg. You can check the things I do out at natelindberg.com. And we're here to talk NXT for May 6th, 2025. Kelly has lost his voice. Kelly can't talk. This is my dream come true. Unfortunately, that means I don't have anybody to do the show with. So Jobin has graciously stepped in once again and is taking Kelly's spot. Jobin, say hey.
Hi. Apparently I'm nobody because he said he had nobody to do the show with and then introduced me. So here we are, everybody.
I mean, I didn't have anybody before I went, hey, Jobin, you want to do the show?
But hey, at least this time you gave me more than halfway through the show's notice.
That's true. Yeah, because I think that's what happened last time.
No, because I did you, me, and Kevin all did that episode together. So no, it was the time before that. I'm still going to keep giving you crap for it.
I don't blame you. I would too. But anyway, we'll keep the crap given going on here as we go. But let's talk about we had a pretty good show tonight. I enjoyed tonight's show. We had a lot going on. Let's talk about our main event, which saw hold on. I know what it is. It's Jordynne Grace versus Julia, but I don't know where my notes went. There we go. So we saw Jordynne Grace versus Julia in the main event, looking to crown a number one contender for the women's championship to face Stephanie Vair at Battleground. And we saw Jordynne Grace go over here. I was kind of torn on who I thought might come out victorious here. I could obviously make a case for either one. Julia and Stephanie came in at the same time, so there's that, and they've kind of had just this natural rivalry, kind of like frenemies type of a thing going on since they both debuted. So I thought, maybe that could be a logical story, but then obviously Jordynne Grace is an absolute powerhouse and a huge name in her own right here in the wrestling world. So why wouldn't you try to give her, a shot at the belt? I'm kind of, I was leaning more towards Julia, but I'm totally fine with this outcome here. I just noticed Kelly's listening. Kelly, how dare you, sir? When I said it was my Kelly. Dream come true. That's fantastic. Anyway, it's funny. It just kind of threw me off. But anyway, yeah, I like I said, I like this. I like this outcome. Stephanie and Jordynne Grace, they're going to obviously put on a damn good performance here. I don't think it's Stephanie's time to lose the belt yet, so maybe that's why they didn't go to Julia just yet. Because I'm thinking she either loses it back to Julia, or they make a little bit more out of that feud, maybe a little bit down the line. But yeah, we'll see. Kelly comes in. I figured Julia, but only because she's got a main roster feud going. It doesn't really go here at this point.
That was going to be the point I was going to make too. Like they've been using her and Roxy a lot more frequently on the main roster, so it's unlikely they'd want to then go this whole route with Julia and tie her up here, as opposed to what they're like. It depends on ultimately what they're doing with either storyline, really.
That's true. And like the Stephanie Julia rivalry, kind of, because I wasn't even really thinking about the main roster, which I should be. But that Stephanie Julia rivalry could even wait to the main roster. They could tell that story there. They could, rehash everything they did in NXT. So that'd be good. Steve Rapture coming in. Julia seems to be on the is she or isn't she on the call. Wow, I screwed that up. Let me say it again. Julia seems to be on the is she or isn't she call up timetable. And she, same thing with Roxy.
Draft and transfer window shenanigans are coming soon. I don't know that they've announced specifics on it just yet, but we're just now freshly post WrestleMania, so any time we'll be seeing a bunch of people move around. So
wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. And I hope they. I don't know. I hope they're a little bit more strict with the roster splits, but just me. If you're going to split the roster, split the roster. Don't show me the same people every night.
I mean, you don't want Jey Uso to yeet for 20 minutes at the start of both Raw and SmackDown every single week? I mean, I love Jey Uso, but like, come on.
I know. And then when you think it's done, he turns around, jumps up on the turnbuckle, and they start the music all over again.
Yeah, that definitely didn't happen last night or anything.
No, not at all. I love Jey Uso, but God, it's getting old. Anyway, but yeah, anything else on Julia Jordan Grace?
No, not really. I mean, it was a solid match out of both of them. I don't think at this point we should really expect any less, especially wrestling each other. It was good. I had a good time watching it. I guess we'll see what they do next.
Exactly. I'm gonna say Stephanie's gonna hold on to the belt, and which sucks because I hate to see Jordan lose another big match like that, but I don't think it's Stephanie's time to lose the belt yet, unless there's some great story they're about to tell me. I think that's probably going to be the direction we go. All right, let's go. Just because I really want to talk about it, let's go to the probably shocker of the night, the 25-man battle royal to name the number one contender for the men's championship. This saw Miles Bourne get the win in 23 minutes and 1 second. And I am proud to say Jobin called it. And I have it in text on Discord. Like Jobin called it
at 8:58 p.m. Eastern time. I said we need a Miles Bourne win. So
yeah,
and then it kind of just kept getting more and more likely as we went through the match. Like I meant it as a joke, but like I'm pumped. I'm really loving Miles Bourne lately. They're giving him a lot more time to shine, and he's using it very well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm very, very happy to see him in this spot. Pleasantly surprised. Going into this, I did not think I'd have to scroll back up in our chat, but I think I said because Jobin and I were just talking on Discord before, while watching NXT. I'm pretty sure I said I thought the final four was going to wind up being Trick Williams, Ethan Page, Elijah, and Javon Evans. And I only said Elijah because big entrance from TNA, put him in the final four, let him get kind of in that mix and whatever. But I think I only got like one of those right. I liked the final four. It was Sean Spears, Miles Bourne. I don't have Kelly's report right in front of
me. You jumped. So let's see.
Bourne, Evans, Legacy, Page, and Spears. There was the final five. Sean Legacy. I really got to give that kid some credit. Looks great. Absolutely looks great. Really good. Really curious to see what he's going to do going forward. I've got to check Evolve out. There's just not enough time in the week, but I got to make some time.
Yeah, I've been saying the same thing. Maybe one of these nights that we're hanging out, we'll throw on Evolve and like watch an episode or two.
Yeah, I think that's I don't think that's a bad idea. I in the middle of this match, or towards the end of this match, Trick Williams was still involved. We saw Joe Hendry come out and attack. Well, he didn't attack, but he made a bit of a distraction. So who was it? Somebody threw Trick Williams out of the ring at that point. It's in Kelly's report.
Who dumped him largely wasn't all that important since the Joe Hendry bit was.
I want to say it was one of the TNA guys, but I could be wrong. Oh, it was Elijah. It was Elijah.
Oh, yeah, Elijah. Yep. There.
Okay, cool. I just saw that in Kelly's report. It was Elijah. But and that was kind of in. We haven't talked about it yet, but during our opener, which was Hank Tank, Joe Hendry versus Dark State. Trick Williams came out and attacked Joe Hendry at that point. They fought into the back. So this was Joe trying to get his revenge, which eventually actually led to Ava making a phone call to our good friend Santino over at TNA there. And the match between Trick Williams and Joe Hendry has been made for Battleground for the TNA Championship, which I'm kind of pumped about. I think that's going to be great.
Mm-hmm. Largely probably very predictable, but or at least as far as a finish, but should still be a very good match.
I think this
could be the time.
This could be it. If I could be wrong, but I'm because I keep saying like they could do it now, but Trick is a big enough name, and he did say something last week about how he's the face of both brands or something along
And
those
he did
lines.
show up. Was it 2 to 3 weeks ago at TNA
Yeah,
to beat up Joe
that
Hendry? So
rebellion.
like, yeah. So like it's certainly very possible. I'm not going to say it isn't. Like eventually, sometime has to be the first time, right?
Indeed, and I think this would make sense. I mean, Trick Williams, he's like I said, he's got the name value. He's shown up in TNA before. He's had this feud with Joe Hendry. I hate to see Joe lose it, but I don't know. I think that would just be a really cool like feather in Trick Williams' cap to be able to say that he's the first person, to kind of cross that line and win a TNA championship.
Mm-hmm.
It was a WWE guy that won the TNA title rather than the other way around or something like that.
They'll be able to spin a bunch of firsts off that. It's the first person on the NXT roster to win a TNA championship, the first person to hold both a TNA and NXT championship, not consecutive, non-consecutively, but like they'll invent a bunch of fun statistics for us off of that if it happens.
Indeed.
Kind of like what Chelsea was doing over the last like couple of months. She's the tallest women's champion or women's North America, like all of that she was doing, because technically all true.
No, definitely. So yeah, I'm looking forward to all of that. Miles Bourne though, I didn't see that one coming. You did, kinda, but
I mean,
I didn't see that
more
one.
as a joke, but like
I know
they've
right?
been pushing him a lot the last 2 weeks or so.
I think this could be a really good match. Him and Obafemi. I mean, it could also just be a complete squash match, and Obafemi like destroys him. But I don't think that's going to be the case. Miles Bourne, great talent. But I didn't. I would, if you asked me an hour ago, well, maybe a little more than an hour ago at this point, if I would have thought Miles Bourne would have been challenging Obafemi for the world title. I don't think so. But I'm kind of here for it. He's easily one of the highlights of the NQCC. Him and Ren, I think, are the two highlights of the NQCC for me. And he's got this. He's got this just this great. He's got great timing, like comedic timing, which not even comedic, just great timing in general, which I think is impressive for somebody who can't hear and trying to have that type of a conversation, a scripted conversation and still have timing and things like that.
I'm sure he's got some assistance in some capacity, like off camera. But who knows? He might just be really good.
Yeah. Kelly, in our chat tonight, Bourne will lose, but his win will be hanging with Oba for 12 minutes and getting the handshake of respect afterwards. That's pretty much it.
Yep, I think they'll put on a really good match. He just won't win because it's Oba.
Yes, indeed. All right, let's keep going here tonight. We're trying to get through this quick because I didn't sleep well last night. I wanna get to bed. Zarya versus Kalani Jordan. We saw that 11 minutes and 22 seconds. I don't know if there's a ton to talk about here. The match itself was pretty good. I think they've got some great chemistry together. Zarya, Sol Ruka, Kalani have kind of been, well, Zarya and Sol Ruka obviously together, in a tag team capacity. Kalani Jordan, she wants Sol Ruka's title. Last week, Zarya stepped up and basically got to get through me first. And she obviously could not do that here tonight. We saw Zarya go over. So I really like Zarya. and she definitely needs some more wins. So like I'm totally here for her getting the win here tonight. Kalani Jordan, though, I feel like also needs some wins. I feel like she's, ever since losing her North American title, she's just kind of been on the losing side of things,
Mhm.
which I think might be. It could also be, kind of, part of her character development right now. We have seen her try to take on a bit more of an edge and have a little more of an edge to her. So I mean that this could be part of her character development, losing and then kind of rising back up.
Yeah, they could
Um,
bring her to a I'm sick of losing, let's get big mad type of situation.
yeah, exactly. Um, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Um, anything on this match?
No, I still think Kalani Jordan's great, but other than that, nothing specific. Zarya's big and strong.
Yes.
Kalani does some cool moves. Pretty straightforward. Didn't expect that would go in Kalani's favor, unfortunately. But
No, no, I didn't. I didn't either. Like I said, Zarya, she came in with such pomp and circumstance, and then I think because she came in at the same time as Julia and Stephanie, or just shortly thereafter, she
mhm.
kind of got pushed aside because I mean, I know, on the internet, like internet fans and, on Reddit and whatnot, like we were all really pumped about seeing Zarya coming in. We thought she had, similar potential as Stephanie and Julia. And I think she still does, honestly, or she could. Um, but there just wasn't that room for her at the top of the card. Her gimmick is also, and I don't know how you feel about her gimmick because I feel like her gimmick's just it doesn't match if that makes sense. Like she's presented as this monster, with her entrance
Mhm.
and music and the makeup and the hair and all of that. But then she's backstage hanging out with the girls and
And
she's one of Sol Ruka's buddies.
and like while I do think that's funny, or it was initially funny, I think she's doing the best with what creative is giving her, because I don't think this was the original plan, and she's just trying to roll with it. Because yeah,
Yeah,
she's absolutely built to be the mean, tough monster. Everything that you would expect out of that type of a role. She does that in the ring, and then yeah, she has these like fun bubbly gimmicks, and I do think it's funny. I don't know that's effectively portraying her in the best way that it could right now.
yeah, yeah. So
I
me
hope
either.
that hopefully, since people have been around for a little bit, Stephanie's probably gonna have this title for a while. Julie is likely gonna go up to the main roster. Maybe this will be the time they can split Zarya and Sol Ruka, and maybe have Zarya either win or challenge Sol for the title, and maybe kind of start her on a heel run. Like there's a lot of potential for her, I think, right now. Especially, it's just yeah, all speculation. It's hard to say which way they really are going to want to go with this.
No, exactly. Um, all right. Sorry, I'm just trying to pull something up because we're going to talk about it in a moment when I read Kevin's email. Um,
Oh, we did miss a match.
yes, I know. Yeah, we haven't. Yeah, actually, may as well. Carmen Petrovic versus Jada Parker, 4 minutes and 8 seconds. We technically haven't really talked about our opener either. Um, But Carmen Petrovic versus Jada Parker. Saw Jada Parker go over. This match came about earlier in the night. Carmen Petrovic was talking to Thea Hale backstage. Jada Parker came in and they started going at it. The verbal confrontation. I can't remember exactly what they said to one another, but it wound up in a match. Um, I thought this was a pretty good match. The crowd was solidly behind Jada Parker. I mean, Carmen's she's great in the ring. I think she's coming along, but wow, the crowd was absolutely behind Jada Parker as they have been for a while. We saw, like I said, we saw Jada Parker go over. Shortly after the match, Thea Hale came out to kind of assist her friend Carmen, and winds up getting knocked off the apron by Jada. It was kind of an accident type of a thing. She was going for Carmen, missed and hit Jada, or sorry, missed and hit Thea rather. Jada hit Thea. And then Carmen was trying to help Thea up as Jada walked to the back. I don't know. I don't like this pairing of Carmen and Thea, to be honest. And maybe it's because I love Thea Hale so much. She's got such an amazing character. And she knows her character. She's still so young and has like a ton of room to grow into it. But Carmen, on the other hand, I don't know who Carmen Petrovic is. You know, I remember years ago, and this might be a little bit before your time as kind of a, kind of more as a wrestling fan, but one of the things that, like, I think it was about 10 years ago, Wade Keller and Stone Cold Steve Austin famously on one of Wade's podcasts were talking about who is Seth Rollins. And we didn't really have a solid like direction for who Seth Rollins was at the time. And I feel like that's a really good spot, really good kind of like comparison to Carmen right now. I don't know who she is. She just dumped this guy. This guy,
which they almost
Adonis.
Never even barely touched. Like, that came up like what, once or twice, maybe.
Yeah. She just dumped Ashante the Adonis. She comes out with a sword sometimes. But who who is she? I want to learn more about her, and obviously I hope that's what they're doing now. But I feel like it's bringing Thea Hale down, where Thea Hale just came back. I want her up here. That's just me. That's just me.
Mm-hmm. I mean, me too. I love Thea. She's fantastic and needs more everything time.
Yeah. No, exactly. All right. Cool. So I was looking at. Here we go. Cool. I was looking for the list of all of the releases, because that is what Kevin brings up in his email. Kevin says, "Salutations, gents. Pardon the late email. My daughter had her first softball game tonight and did very well, by the way. Congratulations. I'm glad to hear that. That's why it's one of the reasons I did ask Kevin if he could join us tonight. Kevin couldn't join us tonight because he had to go to the softball game. I'm sure you all touched on this tonight. We haven't. But my thoughts are recently on the released NXT stars. While I know it's a fish or cut bait setting in NXT, who do you think is the biggest loss? Who do you think will step in and fill the void? Thanks as always. Go VIP and listen to NXT 8 years back. Office hours an hour over. The Professor, Kevin Picatani, PhD. So, all right, I've got the list up here. So we had a bunch of releases on the main roster. Saw Dakota Kai, Braun Strowman, Shayna Baszler, Katana Chance, and Caden Carter. In NXT, we saw Cora Jade, Gigi Dolan, Eddie Thorpe, Jakara Jackson, Riley Osborne, Oro Mensah, Javier Bernal, Joe Coffey, Mark Coffey, Wolfgang, and Danny Palmer all get released. Now, out of all of those names, we're talking NXT.
Did you also mention Shotzi, who was not technically released, but they did not renew Shotzi's contract. So
I didn't, and this list that I'm looking at does point that out, but I didn't say it. So Shotzi's also
that was kind of a late one, or at least I found out about it kind of later, like later than the rest of these releases.
Yep. For me, on the NXT side of things, I think the biggest, there's a few, but Cora Jade, I feel like was a pretty big loss, or at least pretty surprising for me. She had a lot going on with Roxanne Perez. She was recently featured in TNA. She was somebody that it looked like they were at one point poised to build the brand around, and she gets injured. Her and Roxy, I should say, build the brand around. But I still felt like she had a lot more to do in this company. So I'm surprised. Cora Jade was a big surprise for me. Jakara Jackson to a point, because I feel like she and Metaphor. Well, you know what? I'm gonna say Jakara Jackson and Oro Mensah kind of were big surprises to me too. They just had that breakup with Metaphor last week, and it was kind of this heartfelt, like, okay, they're all going on to bigger and better things, like, and now it was really like an actual legitimate goodbye for them. So that's kind of tough. Everybody else, I guess Eddie Thorpe to a point too, like they were investing so much in him as a bad guy, and he was getting over as a bad guy, as a heel. Like when I went to NXT in Lowell, he was booed out of the building. He got Dom heat, like dirty Dom heat, that night. It was he had the loudest heel reaction in the building, and then they kind of just stopped doing things with him. And I don't know, if it was something with him or that he wasn't doing what they wanted or whatnot. But yeah, those I think were the biggest surprises for me. On the main roster, I hate to say it, but Dakota, Shayna, Caden, and Katana. I hate to say it, but they're not really huge surprises. Dakota and Shayna, there's so much potential there. Braun Strowman, a bit of a surprise, but then you find out he's been wrestling with the semi-paralyzed leg. So that, I guess, that makes sense. He's
that's part of it, and like I don't know. I guess everything else I've seen is all speculation at this point. So who knows?
Yeah, that's why I didn't get into it. But
yeah,
but we do know that he's been wrestling with a semi-paralyzed leg. So more power to him. All the other stuff, whatever. But I gotta at least say it's gotta be somewhat tough to wrestle like that.
Mm-hmm.
So what about you? What do you think are the biggest surprises?
I mean, to be fair, most of this list wasn't that much of a surprise to me. Cora Jade, definitely. Gigi Dolan was a little bit of a surprise, just where they've been doing more with her and Tatum. Especially where they just had this match or I guess technically it was on the pre-show of Stand and Deliver, but still a Stand and Deliver match.
Hey, that's it. The signs out in the arena still said Stand and Deliver.
Exactly. So, pre-show or not, like they're still on the card in some capacity. So it just seemed weird that like a week or two after that, just like, nope, gone. Oro Mensa, because I know, I don't know if you brought it up or not, or if it was brought up previously, but Oro Mensa was doing a lot more in Evolve. So yeah, it's just a lot of not that much surprise, because when's the last time we saw Gallus?
Yeah, exactly.
Riley Osborne really has done nothing since they let most of the rest of Chaseu go. It's just weird to then now let him go as they're reviving Chaseu. Yeah, like a little weird, but none of it that surprising.
Yeah. No, and I think this revival of Chaseu is supposed to be almost like what was the new Saved by the Bell that didn't go anywhere? The new class, I think it was called. I don't know.
Something like that.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a new class of talent that they don't seem to be. I mean, obviously Duke Hudson's gone, Riley Osborne's gone, Bodie Hayward's been gone for a very long time. So Kelly just chimes in that Gallus had been on Evolve too. So I just figured that this. Okay, yeah. Yeah, and you're working Evolve after working, NXT in the main roster, then
because like it's one thing to work your way up, but when you're working your way down, Nikita Lyons.
You took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah, like that's usually not a great sign if they keep bumping you down, and like used to be you'd go main roster to NXT, now you get that extra level to fall.
Yeah, no, exactly. Actually, no, we haven't talked about segments on the show yet. It was like, wow, I think we talked about everything, but we haven't talked about all segments yet.
There's a couple of segments to talk about. Nothing too crazy, I think.
Tony D'Angelo and Wes Lee backstage. Tony was on the phone talking to somebody. I don't know if they actually said who he was talking to.
Excuse me.
And Wes Lee walked in with his two lackeys, Tyson and Tyreek. And basically cut Tony D down and kind of said that he smelled this lack of confidence on him, which is going to lead to a match between Tony D and Wes Lee. I think it was next week. I don't think it was a Battleground match. I think it was next week.
I think so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's next week. then where the heck did that go? I just dropped something. All right. Anyway, then we had Lola Vice and Stephanie Vaquer backstage talking when Julia walked in, and Julia essentially saying or laying claim to Stephanie's title, which she doesn't have a claim to anymore because Jordynne Grace beat her. We saw Sarah Schreiber interviewing Jordynne Grace backstage, and then we saw Lash Legend walk into frame and kind of try to make a name for herself outside of the Meta-4 bubble, or now I guess Meta-2, because it's the only two left, and they're not even together. Her and oh my God, his name just escaped my brain. Our current Heritage Cup champion, Noam Dar. There we go.
I wasn't gonna save you on that one.
He
just came back. You talked about him for quite a while last week.
I know, and like I can see him clear in my head, holding up the title. I'm like, what is this guy's name? I told you I didn't sleep much last night. So yeah, anything? I guess anything on those so far?
No, not really. I mean, a couple of fairly standard segments to lead to matches to set up for next week, which I guess is better than announcing not a lot. So better to know sort of what we're walking into next week, at least some of them.
All right, we had a video package for OTM, so it looks like they're going to be pushed once again. Fingers crossed that it works out from this time, because it seems like they get such a they get such a start and stop push. But I like this. This was this was a pretty well produced video, and kind of look to position them as kind of a tough duo. We saw Yoshiki Inamura tell Josh Briggs he's heading back to Japan and that he wishes he could have been a better partner for him. And this was after they had a couple miscommunications in the Battle Royal. Briggs almost hit Inamura with the big boot, and then Inamura almost clotheslined Briggs out of the ring later on in the match. We saw the NQCC backstage with Obafemi. Obafemi congratulating Miles Bourne. We're just talking about Riley Osborne. Congratulating Miles Bourne on his win tonight.
I tried looking at Jason Bourne earlier, so not doing much better.
But yeah, we saw Charlie Dempsey say that he was going to be the one facing Obafemi next week, taking Miles Bourne's spot. Miles Bourne like, no, I don't think so. Then they made a deaf joke about selective hearing, and I thought it was hilarious. Andre Chase.
He's never the butt of the joke.
No, he's not.
Which is exactly the way you want to do, jokes, disability jokes, generally speaking. Like, you don't want to make them the butt of the joke, but the joke still needs, like, they do such a good job with that.
Yeah, just so subtle. Like, because I don't think they've ever come out and said he's deaf. So they've just, they may have, but I think, actually, you know what? They definitely have. When he first kind of debuted, I think I remember them saying he was the first deaf wrestler in WWE. And then,
just from the way he speaks, it's fairly obvious. I figure most people have heard a deaf person talk at some point in their life.
Yeah, you can kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. Anything else in those segments at all?
Andre Chase has apparently 2 new sets of ring gear, so that's cool. That got a whole segment. I assume that was a merch plug in some capacity for new Chaseu merch, but yeah, no, not much really on the rest of it. I mean, I guess it'll be interesting to see if Inamura is actually going back to Japan. Like, is he done? Is this like he's doing a tournament in Japan like Tavion Heights did at some point last year? We've had other people going over to do stuff in Noah.
Well, I don't think, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he was ever actually signed to a contract. I think he's a Pro Wrestling Noah talent that was wrestling over here, just like they did with Omos and
yeah, that could be.
yeah. So I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Okay, so maybe his time is up here for at least for now.
Yeah, I think so. So, good fellow in the chat asking about any feuds coming from within the Battle Royal. Kelly coming in talking about not sure about a proper feud, but Paige Spears could have an issue out of the end of the Battle Royal. That's very true. Trying to think if there were any other. Nothing that sticks out to me, but I don't remember. I wasn't like paying attention to like what could be feuds coming out of this. Goodfellow was asking who the bouncy guy was from Evolve. Sean Legacy. Sean Legacy looks great. I actually, yeah, I would love to see him and Javon one-on-one, which Goodfellow brought up in the chat. Kelly says in the chat that he's also centerpiece in Evolve. So if you want to check him out, yeah, if you want to check him out, on Tubi. I still haven't used Tubi. I gotta try that.
I think I've watched like one episode of something once on Tubi, but that's the only time I've actually opened it. So I'll have to figure out what my login is for that.
Yes. All right, and I think with that, that's going to bring us to a pretty quick episode of PWT Talks NXT tonight. Pretty much hit on everything. So again, I'm Nate Lindberg. You can check the things out I do at natelindberg.com. Jobin, who are you?
I'm Jobin, and that's Nate Lindberg. You can check the things out he does at natelindberg.com.
Yeah, there we go.
I don't have anything especially to plug.
Cool. All right, Kelly, I hope you get your voice back, and I'm only saying that because you're listening. And we'll see you next time. Take care.